Do you ever listen to an artist like Ed Sheeran and think to yourself, man, I really wish I had that kind of raw vocal talent? Have you ever thought, like, there's no way he ever sounded bad. There's no way this artist that I love on Spotify, she's always sounded perfect and amazing. Well, my friend, to start off this course, the first thing we need to talk about is misconceptions and myths when it comes to singing, and yes, even the singers you love. Because there are a few myths out there that most of us believe by default, and I used to believe these as well, and these are just completely false. So before we dive into all the intricacies of this course, I want to make some things very clear to you when it comes to your singing voice. So here are a few myths that I'm about to debunk. Myth: every singer you love is uber talented and has always sounded amazing without even trying. I want you to watch an Ed Sheeran interview that I've embedded below, so you can watch the YouTube clip below this video. And in this interview, he lets everyone in on how much his vocals used to suck. Now, of course, there are singers out there, and there always will be singers out there who are just head and shoulders above everybody else when it comes to raw vocal talent. Think like Mariah Carey, Adele, Freddie Mercury. These singers are the Tom Bradys, the Wayne Gretzkys of vocal talent. And this type of separation from the great to the all-time great happens in really every field of expertise. In every skill, in every field, in every industry, you will inevitably have a small number of people rise to the top of their respective pyramid. And this is just the way life works. The best will inevitably separate from the good and the great. Okay, now let's dive back into vocals and singing. So what I want you to do now is take inventory, grab your Spotify or your Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, and take inventory of the types of singers you listen to. And I want you to come up with an estimate. Like, what percentage of the singers you listen to on an everyday basis are at the level of like an Adele or Freddie Mercury or Whitney Houston? It's probably a pretty small percentage. And I'm willing to bet that a much larger percentage of the music you listen to, the vocalists and the singers on those tracks, they sound good, they serve the song, they know who they are, they tap into their unique tone and style, but they're not the best by any stretch of the imagination. And this is the kind of singer I'm hoping that you are trying to become, because this is a game in which you can win. You can't win if you're trying to be Adele or Freddie Mercury or Michael Jackson. You're not going to win that game, but you can win at being the best you. I call this the Ed Sheeran approach. And what is the Ed Sheeran approach? It is all summed up in one word: maximization. See, you, me, and Ed Sheeran all have this one thing in common. We're not the most naturally gifted. But if we are passionate about music and singing and practicing our instrument that is our voice, then you, me, and Ed Sheeran have the potential to not only sound okay and sound kind of talented, we have the potential to sound amazing. See, here's the thing. If you can maximize your vocal potential, people will think that you are way more naturally gifted than you really are. Now, I myself am a good example of someone who used to sound like crap, and I worked my way out of it, and I learned how to sing well. Just compare these two songs from 2013 to 2019.
Of this life seemed to weigh on my soul.
Now, I would imagine there have been a few people who, when they were listening to that song that I produced in 2019, they thought to themselves, man, this guy's voice is pretty good, he's pretty talented. Yet they have no idea what I used to sound like. This is the Ed Sheeran effect. If you maximize your voice and you maximize your potential, people will put the stamp of incredibly talented on you, even if you're not that incredibly talented. So that's the first myth debunked. Every singer is uber talented without even trying. It's just not true. Here's another myth. Your voice is a mystery that cannot be explained or learned. I was inspired to include this I first heard it from, I think, vocal coach Brett Manning, but I think he got it from somebody else. I don't remember for sure, but in any case, the quote was, "Your voice is not a mystery, it's a muscle." Or in my own words, a variation of that would be, your voice is not a mystery, it's an instrument. This is an incredible thing to realize. And if you've always thought of, even if not explicitly, even if it was just on an implicit level, you've always thought of your voice as this mysterious thing that I was born this way and my voice was set in stone and it's just this mysterious thing that's out there and I don't even bother to touch it or worry about it. It just is what it is. But what happens when you start to think of your voice as a muscle or an instrument? Well, what do you do when you want to strengthen your muscles? You go to the gym. And we all know that you can grow your muscles. I'm still working on it. But we all know that you can grow your muscles by going to the gym and getting a good plan and working out consistently. And we've all seen those transformation photos where you don't even recognize them as the same person. Your voice is also a muscle that can be learned, strengthened, weakened, maximized, minimized. It's not set in stone. Seriously, I hope this is liberating to you. It was so liberating to me when I first heard it, and it gave me this beautiful epiphany. And I hope it does the same for you. I really just needed an excuse to say the word epiphany. It's a great word. But anyway, it's pretty self-evident and it's obvious to everyone that you don't need to have Arnold Schwarzenegger-like genes to look good. If you go to the gym and you work out consistently and you have a plan and you have a workout routine, you'll look great. Same thing with your voice. You don't have to be Adele or Michael Jackson or whichever singer it is that you just look up to in this awe. You can sound amazing in your own right, and you will if you maximize your potential. So don't sell yourself short, and remember that it's a myth to think about your voice as a mystery. It's not a mystery. Your voice is a muscle. Your voice is an instrument that can be strengthened, that can be built upon. You can grow your skills just like a guitar or piano. You build the skills over time. You get better. That is the process. So those are two myths. Now let's segue into two truths about singing. Here's a groundbreaking truth for you. Most of the artists you listen to aren't uber talented like you think they are. I know we've already discussed this in the first myth, but I want to approach this now from a slightly different angle, and I just want to talk about a few singers that have done incredibly well for themselves, and here are some of their streaming numbers on Spotify. Remember, these singers aren't the Adeles or the Michael Jacksons or the uber talented of the world. No, these are just really good, solid singers who maximized their potential. Phoebe Bridgers, 6 million monthly Spotify listeners. Paul Klein from Laney, 10 million monthly Spotify listeners. Kevin Parker, also known as Tame Impala, 15 million monthly Spotify listeners. Drew Taggart from the Chainsmokers, 28 million monthly Spotify listeners. This guy literally learned to sing last week. Dave Bailey from Glass Animals, 40 million monthly Spotify streams. Billie Eilish, 50 million. Ed Sheeran, 80 million. Now, I don't want to hear, oh, but these singers are so talented and I could never sound as good as them. And listen, remember what we talked about earlier. This is talent perception. When a singer maximizes their potential, we perceive them as being more talented than they actually are. The singers I just mentioned aren't even close to the natural born gifts of like a Whitney Houston or an Adele. But what they do have going for them is they're being themselves, right? They're being themselves. They've maximized their potential. They've learned to stylistically make their voice fit within a context that relates to their audience and to their listeners. And here's a key one. They don't try to be the best. They're secure enough in their voice, in who they are, that they're just focused on being the best them. And that's what I want for you. And here's a challenge that I want to leave with you from this video. You should not be focusing on being as good as the best of the best. You should instead be focusing on being 1% better than you were yesterday. If you stretch that out across 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and you continually work on your voice and get 1% better every single day, you won't even recognize who you are today versus 5 years from now, or even 2 years from now. This type of transformation is far more possible than you realize. And even if it's hard to believe, I want you to be at least open to believing that it's possible. And I want you to try, because here is kind of the dark downside to this. If you don't know what your maximal potential is, then you're never gonna know. Do you really want to live the rest of your life where you know you love music, you love to sing, you love the art form, but you've always downed yourself, you've always sold yourself short? But now's the time to change that, my friend. Now is the time to discover and find out what your highest potential is. So here's another challenge for you. I am not giving you permission. I am not allowing you to give up on singing until you've spent 2 full years working consistently on your voice and on your skills. Now, if after 2 years you still have no confidence and you don't feel like you'll ever sound good, then fine, you can throw in the towel then. But if you don't ever find out how good you could be if you put in the work, then that might eat away at you later on in life. I don't want that to happen. I want you to discover, I want you to explore and find out what your potential is. And chances are, you have much more potential than you think you do. All right, finally, one more truth, and then we'll move on to the next lesson in this module. So here's a truth for you. Believability is more valuable than beauty. Have you ever wondered why artists like Passenger or James Blunt or Bob Dylan, why are people attracted to their voices? Their voices don't exactly come across as beautiful. They don't exactly come across as attractive. Now, I'm not going to go into the weeds of all the psychology behind all of this, because I don't even know all the psychology behind all of this. But what I do know is that every single one of these singers I just mentioned, who don't really bank on the beauty or don't rely on just natural, all-inspiring beauty in their voice, what they do have is an absolutely essential ingredient that every great singer has, and it is believability. Remember this, the most important thing when it comes to the vocal you record and upload to Spotify and release to the world is that your song, and especially your vocal, sounds and feels believable. Because if they can sense that the lyrics and the vocal delivery and the tone and everything that you're projecting on that vocal take, if they can sense that it's real, that it's authentic, that it's believable, then they will also believe it. See, this is why Bob Dylan can tap into that strange nasal vocal tone, and people love and adore him and his music. And why is that? Well, it's because he's authentic and he's believable. So when you're singing a song, make sure that you're putting focus and thinking about, do I believe this? And when you're delivering the song, let me deliver this in a way that really projects that I believe in the song that I'm singing.